What if the key to authentic happiness wasn't found in relentless striving, but in the gentle art of letting go? In a world where endless hustle is celebrated, many find themselves exhausted and disconnected from real joy. But what if true fulfillment lies not in chasing after every dream, but in pausing, reflecting, and embracing the present moment fully? This book invites you to discover a hidden path, one where self-reflection unlocks lasting contentment beyond struggle and stress. Turn the page and begin your journey to stop chasing and start living with purpose, peace, and joy. Stop Chasing, Finding Joy by Letting Go of Struggle, written and published by Awaken Vision. Chapter 1. Have you ever woken up and felt like your spark had gone out? As if you were simply moving through the motions every day without a genuine sense of fire in your heart? So many people find themselves stuck in this numbness, buried beneath the weight of expectations, busyness, and stress, unsure of why life feels dull and flat. Maybe you have reached for excitement or fulfillment in new jobs, relationships, or even hobbies, only to have that same emptiness return once the novelty wore off. It's a quiet struggle that whispers, there must be more to life than this. This sense of something missing isn't just uncomfortable, it's a signal from within, gently nudging you to look closer at what truly fuels your inner glow. Understanding this feeling is essential because it affects every corner of your life. When your inner flame feels dim, joy becomes fleeting, and even the smallest tasks seem overwhelming. The days blend together, and you might start to question your purpose or doubt your abilities. Rather than believing that you lack motivation or talent, it's important to recognize that losing your spark is a common human experience, often made worse by modern life's constant pressure to achieve and chase after the next big thing. Realizing that you are not alone in this experience can be a comfort in itself. A reminder that feeling lost or uninspired doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It simply means you are human. Imagine Anna, a talented artist who once painted eagerly for hours, but now finds herself staring at blank canvases, uninspired. She scrolls endlessly through social media, comparing her stalled progress to others' bright achievements. Each like or comment brings a brief rush of excitement, but the emptiness returns. The more she tries to chase after that passion, the further it feels. Or consider Daniel, a hard-working professional who gave years to his career, pursuing every promotion with energy and focus. Slowly, his days became longer, his sleep broken by stress, and a heavy sense of burnout settled in. He thought that something new would reignite his love for work. Yet even a change of scenery brought little more than short-lived relief. It is important to understand that this dullness, this loss of connection to our inner fire, does not mean we have failed. Instead, it offers a powerful opportunity to pause and listen deeply to ourselves. Turning inward can feel daunting, especially in a world that constantly urges us to do more and be more. Yet the first step to reigniting your flame is recognizing the opportunity in your discomfort. Those moments of dissatisfaction are actually gentle messengers, telling you that a change is possible and even necessary. There is power and hope in learning how to reconnect with the spark that's always waiting inside you. As you read further, you'll see that joy and enthusiasm are not destinations you reach by running faster or trying harder. They are the natural result of tuning in, listening, and nurturing what you already possess. The journey back to your inner flame begins right here, with a simple willingness to look within and believe that real change is possible, starting from this very moment. The process of reigniting your inner flame begins with self-reflection, the gentle practice of turning your gaze inward and asking intentional questions about what truly matters to you. Instead of searching outside yourself for quick fixes or distractions, self-reflection invites you to pause and notice your thoughts, feelings, and desires with openness rather than judgment. This practice is powerful because it helps reveal the underlying reasons for your current state, making it easier to identify what has dimmed your enthusiasm and what can bring it back to life. Research in psychology shows that self-reflection can increase self-awareness, promote well-being, and break cycles of negative thinking. When you learn to recognize and appreciate your inner landscape, your motivations, dreams, worries, and values, you begin to understand where your flames naturally burn brightest. Self-reflection works because it creates space between reaction and response. By setting aside moments, even a few quiet minutes each day, you gradually untangle your genuine interests and feelings from the expectations or pressures that have clouded them. For example, taking time to journal, meditate, or walk in silence helps your mind settle, allowing your real passions and hopes to surface. Scientific studies support these practices, showing that regular moments of mindful rest reduce stress hormones and improve overall mood. In these moments, clarity emerges, showing you not just what is wrong, but also pointing towards what feels right for you. Those sparks of curiosity, excitement, and peace. This solution might seem simple, but it is deeply effective. When you spend time with yourself in honest, compassionate inquiry, you start to reconnect with your unique purpose, rather than acting on autopilot. Imagine the sense of relief that comes from no longer chasing after what everyone else seems to want, or measuring yourself against external standards. With clear insight into your authentic self, decisions about work, relationships, and daily life become bolder and more satisfying because they come from your true core, not from outside noise or fear of missing out. Over time, these small but consistent acts of self-reflection build confidence and self-trust, strengthening your emotional endurance and joy. The benefits of this approach ripple through every aspect of your life. As you reconnect to your authentic desires, motivation renews itself naturally. Tasks that once felt burdensome start to carry new meaning, and relationships deepen as you interact authentically. Studies in positive psychology reveal that self-aware individuals experience greater resilience as they can adapt to challenges without losing touch with their inner guidance. As you grow in self-understanding, your life choices reflect more closely the inner flame you're nurturing, resulting in a more peaceful, dynamic existence. By honoring your inner world through self-reflection, you reclaim the steady pilot light that has always existed within you, even if it had grown faint. This investment in yourself paves the way for more sustainable and meaningful growth because it grants you permission to choose, adapt, or change course from a place of calm and clarity. Trust in your ability to rekindle your fire. As this chapter closes, know that each thoughtful pause, each kind question you ask yourself, is another step towards igniting a lasting flame within, a light only you can shine. When you commit to the practice of self-reflection as the foundation for reigniting your inner flame, the rewards begin to touch every aspect of your life. Clarity replaces confusion, empowering you to make decisions rooted in self-knowledge instead of external pressure or fleeting trends. Your sense of purpose grows stronger as you witness the emergence of genuine interests and dreams once buried beneath daily noise. Drudgery is transformed as your routine begins to reflect what truly motivates and inspires you. You find yourself more able to respond calmly to life's demands because you understand your values and limits, and so experience less inner conflict. This renewed connection even enhances your relationships, allowing you to communicate openly and set healthy boundaries because you know yourself better. By making your actions align with what feels true for you, your self-confidence naturally expands, and life takes on more meaning, energy, and joy. Putting this habit into practice starts with simple, obtainable steps that allow you to build momentum. You might begin by setting aside just 10 minutes each day, perhaps before bed or first thing in the morning, to ask yourself questions like, "What brought me energy today?" or "What felt draining and why?" These reflections can be captured in a journal, voice note, or even quietly considered on a daily walk. Over time, you'll notice patterns in your mood, energy, and interests that give you clear clues about what enlivens or restricts you. If self-reflection feels awkward at first, start small and let the process guide you rather than worrying about finding the perfect answers. What matters most is practicing consistency and honesty, even when the answers surprise you. Create reminders to check in with yourself during stressful moments or big decisions so that this practice anchors you in turbulent times. Applying these steps to your life may look different depending on your goals and needs. For personal growth, you might use your insights to choose new hobbies or refine your goals to reflect your authentic desires, rather than external expectations. In relationships, you could share your discoveries with a close friend or partner, voicing your gratitude for what's working and communicating your needs when something isn't. At work or school, your self-reflective clarity helps you pursue projects that interact with your strengths or signal when it's time to delegate, seek support, or change direction. For instance, if you notice meetings drain your energy, but creative problem-solving lights you up, you might seek more tasks that involve brainstorming rather than administration. Learning to see stumbling blocks as natural parts of your growth gives you the patience to persist, knowing that your inner flame sometimes needs tending more than fuel. The most inspiring part of this process is realizing that evolution doesn't rely on dramatic overnight shifts, but on the steady accumulation of small wins. Each tiny moment you pause and get curious is a brick in the foundation of a more vibrant life. If you are patient and gentle with yourself, you will wake one morning feeling more alert to possibility, discovering one bright ember after another, uncovering a stronger flame. Celebrate each reflection and every insight as proof of your ability to change, and remember that temporary setbacks are just part of learning how to nurture yourself better. As the chapter draws to a close, take a quiet moment to absorb your progress, feeling grateful for your investment in yourself. In the next chapter, you'll build on this foundation by learning how to rewire your thoughts for positivity, shifting not only your actions, but the very mindset that shapes your daily reality. Ready to keep the momentum going? Be sure to subscribe to Awaken Vision, give this video a thumbs up, and share your personal reflections or suggestions for supporting others on their own path to inner joy. Let's move forward together and keep your flame alive. Chapter 2. Rewire thoughts for positivity. Have you ever caught yourself replaying the same negative thoughts, like a song stuck on repeat? Maybe it's the quiet voice that says you're not good enough, or the nagging doubt that undermines every decision you make. Many of us spend our days surrounded by these silent critics, allowing old fears and worries to dictate how we see ourselves and our possibilities. The problem with these deeply rooted negative thoughts is that they are often invisible to us. We take them for granted, accepting their messages as facts without stopping to question where they came from or whether they are even true. This constant background noise wears away at confidence and steals the joy from achievement, no matter how much hard work you put in. Understanding this thought pattern is vital because your mind is like soil, ready to grow whatever seeds you plant. If you constantly sow thoughts of worry, criticism, or discouragement, you'll naturally harvest feelings of anxiety, doubt, and dissatisfaction. These patterns can influence everything, from your career ambitions to your relationships and personal happiness. More importantly, when left unchecked, negative thinking tends to multiply, creating a mental environment where opportunities seem impossible and challenges appear insurmountable. It's not that people mean to be pessimistic or hard on themselves. Often it happens so gradually and quietly, starting with a single negative opinion that eventually shapes their view of who they are. If unchecked, these patterns slowly drain hope, keeping ambition and courage out of reach. Imagine you wake up, and before you even get out of bed, your mind is racing with worries about the day ahead, what might go wrong at work, whether you're falling behind, or even if people really value you. You notice these thoughts and feel your energy start to fade before the morning even begins. Take another example. Maria, a college student, wants to try out for a school performance but keeps hearing her mind tell her, "You're not talented enough. You'll only embarrass yourself." Even when friends encourage her, Maria's worries convince her to quit before she has begun. She's not alone. Nick, who recently lost a job, finds himself spiraling into memories of past failures, convinced nothing will ever go right for him again. Both are trapped in powerful thinking habits that shape every choice they make. The challenge of these patterns is that they are extremely persuasive, but the benefit of understanding them is even greater, because once you recognize the power of your thoughts, you realize you have the ability to change the story. The way you speak to yourself matters enormously. Recognizing and then intentionally shifting these thoughts opens a new way of living, one marked by hope, possibility, and resilience. You don't have to be at the mercy of your negative thinking. It is possible, step by small step, to rewire your mind for positivity and create a stronger, kinder relationship with yourself. With practice, what once felt impossible becomes achievable, building a solid base for lasting change. The journey to rewiring your thoughts for positivity begins with recognizing that your thoughts are not just background noise or fixed parts of who you are. Your thoughts are habits your mind has learned, often shaped by past experiences and repeated until they start to feel like unchangeable truths. But just as your brain can form negative patterns, it can also be guided to create new, positive pathways. Science calls this ability neuroplasticity, the brain's natural power to adapt and reorganize itself. With consistent effort and gentle patience, you can train your mind to produce healthier, more optimistic beliefs. The most essential step in this process is awareness, noticing when that inner critic pipes up or when negative thinking starts to cloud your prospects. The act of simply catching yourself in the middle of a negative thought loosens its grip and gives you a rare opportunity to choose a different way. The most powerful technique for shifting negative thinking is called cognitive reframing. This involves examining your thoughts with curiosity instead of judgment. When you notice a negative statement, pause and ask, is this thought absolutely true? What evidence do I have for or against it? For instance, if your mind says, I always mess things up, summon moments when you succeeded. Remind yourself of even small wins. Scientific research from cognitive behavioral therapy repeatedly shows that when people challenge and reframe their negative thoughts, they report lower stress, less anxiety, and a more positive sense of self. By intervening in your own thought process, you gradually replace harmful beliefs with empowering ones, making your mind a far more encouraging place to be. A key reason this solution works so well is that our brains and bodies respond to the stories we tell ourselves every day. When you repeat negative thoughts, your body reacts with stress and defensive behaviors. Over time, this can wear you down, affecting your outlook and even your health. On the other hand, when you actively practice optimism and self-compassion, you boost your emotional resilience and prime your mind for creative solutions to problems. Studies highlight that people who practice positive thinking not only have better emotional well-being, but often perform better at work, recover faster from setbacks, and enjoy more fulfilling relationships. The benefits go far beyond just feeling happier for a moment. They alter the trajectory of your life. The simplicity and accessibility of this technique make it truly powerful. You don't need impressive resources or complicated routines to get started. Each time you catch and challenge a negative thought, you strengthen your ability to notice more often, become less attached to harmful stories, and gently plant more positive seeds. The consistency of these small acts is what truly changes your mental landscape over time. As you practice, even setbacks become opportunities to use your new tools, transforming failures into chances to grow and reassess. This approach allows you to take back power over your mindset, teaching you that circumstances don't have to control how you feel or what you believe about yourself. With time, your inner dialogue becomes more nurturing and constructive, and doors you once thought were closed begin to open wide, simply because you are ready to believe in brighter possibilities. When you begin to actively rewire your thoughts for positivity, the changes reach far beyond a simple mood boost. The benefits ripple through the way you handle challenges, interact with others, and view yourself. You'll notice that your days contain more hope and lighter moments, even when life is difficult. Your emotional resilience will start to grow. It will become easier to bounce back after setbacks because you know how to challenge hopeless thinking and nurture more encouraging inner dialogue. Over time, self-doubt loses its power and self-trust takes root. In your relationships, expressing understanding toward yourself begins to naturally spill over into the way you treat others, resulting in greater kindness, patience, and honesty. At work or school, your confidence translates into clearer communication and a willingness to take on new opportunities because you're no longer trapped by limiting beliefs. Positive thinking isn't about ignoring problems. It's about believing in your own ability to find solutions, adapt, and thrive. Putting this practice into action can start with straightforward daily steps. As you notice negative thoughts, take a brief pause to gently name them, like, "That's a worried thought," or "That's my perfectionist voice." Naming the thought creates a small distance, stopping it from feeling automatic and absolute. Next, ask yourself how true the thought really is, searching for evidence that supports or contradicts it. Shift your focus to what is actually happening right now, rather than getting lost in imagined worst-case scenarios. If you catch your mind circling around, "I'll never get this right," find a specific time when you succeeded at something similar, no matter how small. Practice swapping harsh self-talk with a kinder phrase, such as, "I can grow through this," or "I'm learning, and that's enough." Choose a simple daily reminder, like a bracelet, sticky note, or phone notification, to nudge you back on track when old patterns start creeping in. To see how this works, imagine someone preparing for a big presentation at work. Sarah, nervous and plagued by thoughts like, "I'll mess this up," takes a moment to breathe and review her last successful meeting. She reminds herself that her team supports her. She replaces her self-criticism with, "I prepared well and will do my best." With each small victory, her confidence grows. Or picture Thomas, a student overwhelmed with exams who begins to notice his habit of thinking, "I'll never pass." Instead of sinking into panic, he writes down his past scores and realizes he's often improved with each test. He makes a list of his study wins and practices a compassionate self-reminder, "Every step I take is progress." Bit by bit, positivity becomes second nature, not by pretending challenges disappear, but by meeting each one with understanding and encouragement. It may be tempting to expect instant transformation, but the most meaningful change is built on small, steady effort. If you've ever planted a seed, you know it takes water, sunlight, and patience before a sprout appears. Each time you catch and gently challenge a negative thought, you are feeding your mind and spirit the care it needs to bloom. You're not expected to be perfect, only willing to experiment, reflect, and keep trying. Celebrate your moments of progress, no matter how modest. The very act of awakening to your thoughts is victory in itself. If your progress feels slow, remember that every step, no matter how small, shifts you closer to the life you desire. As you move forward, get ready to deepen your growth by exploring how resilience and gratitude can help you not just survive adversity, but truly thrive in it. Make sure to subscribe to Awaken Vision, give this video a like, and share your insights or suggestions in the comments to support fellow readers on this journey. Each positive shift in your thinking creates new opportunities for joy, so keep showing up for yourself with patience and hope. Chapter 3. Life has a way of throwing us into the unexpected, losses, disappointments, and days when nothing seems to go our way. It is easy to become overwhelmed when plans fall apart or challenges rise up faster than solutions. In these moments, frustration and self-doubt often grow loudest, making it hard to imagine that a brighter future could exist just beyond today's troubles. If you have ever caught yourself asking, "Why is this happening to me?" or "How will I get through this?" you are not alone. Everyone, no matter how strong they appear on the outside, faces these storms. The difference is that some people bounce back more quickly than others, able to stand up after every setback with a renewed sense of hope. What is their secret? It is the powerful combination of resilience and gratitude, a pairing that can transform not just how you handle hard times, but how you experience life itself. Understanding this challenge is crucial because adversity is part of every person's story. Pretending it will not come only increases its sting, while the belief that hardship means we are failing drains away our confidence. Yet when you learn to see struggle as an opportunity for growth, pain loses some of its power. Studies show that resilient people are not immune to disappointment. Instead, they have learned how to bend without breaking. They recover from stress by finding meaning in difficulty, staying connected to their strengths, and searching for the small good things, even in the darkest moments. When gratitude is added to this mindset, it becomes easier to spot the bright spots in your day, giving you energy to keep moving forward. In essence, gratitude works as a gentle light, showing you what remains, what you have already survived, and what continues to support you even when circumstances shift. Consider Emily, who after a sudden job loss spiraled into fear about her future. At first, she focused solely on her problem and questioned her own abilities. She struggled to sleep, and her confidence dipped with every rejection email. Over time, however, Emily began to write down one small thing each day that made her feel thankful. A cup of coffee shared with a friend, encouragement from her partner, the soft warmth of sunlight through her window. She didn't deny her challenges, but as her vision widened, Emily noticed inner reserves of strength she had not seen before. The daily practice of searching for gratitude gave her the courage to try just one more time, and eventually led her to a new job and a greater appreciation for her abilities. Her setbacks had not disappeared, but her willingness to meet difficulty with resilience and gratitude brought her through stronger and wiser. Stories like Emily's remind us that we often overestimate the power of any single event to define us, while underestimating our ability to recover and make meaning. Challenges are not the end of our story, but chapters that can change how we see our strength and life's goodness. The question is not whether difficulties will come, but how we choose to face them. With resilience and gratitude, it is possible to heal, rebuild hope, and grow, even in seasons of hardship. Resilience and gratitude work together to change the way you respond to life's inevitable challenges, offering an inner toolkit for surviving and thriving no matter what comes your way. Resilience is the capacity to adapt in the face of adversity, to recover after setbacks, and to keep moving even when everything feels uncertain or out of your control. It is not about denying pain or ignoring difficulty, but accepting that hardship is a natural part of life and trusting in your own ability to find a way forward. When you pair resilience with gratitude, the deliberate act of noticing and appreciating the good that still exists, even in moments of distress, you create a mental environment that supports healing instead of discouragement. This solution is powerful because it aligns closely with how the human brain works. Research has shown that stress and adversity trigger our body's survival systems, but persistent negativity can cause us to lose sight of hope and resourcefulness. When you practice resilience, you remind yourself that obstacles are temporary. You start searching for solutions rather than simply reacting to problems. Gratitude strengthens this process by bringing your attention to what is still working, what you still have, and what lessons may be hiding within the hardship. Scientific studies illustrate that regularly practicing gratitude shifts the brain's focus from threat and scarcity toward abundance and connection. Over time, this leads to improved mood, lower rates of depression and anxiety, stronger immune responses, and even enhanced problem-solving skills. Pairing resilience and gratitude is beneficial on many levels, mentally, emotionally, and even physically. Resilience acts like a buffer, absorbing shocks so they do not shatter your confidence or keep you stuck in despair. It encourages persistence, showing you that setbacks are not signs of failure but invitations to learn and grow. Gratitude, with its quiet wisdom, counters the mind's tendency to dwell only on the negative. It reveals a broader perspective and provides comfort, reminding you that goodness can be found even on hard days. These two qualities reinforce each other. Gratitude helps you find meaning or hope in struggle, and resilience makes it easier to keep practicing gratitude, even when circumstances are tough. The practical power of this approach is seen in many areas of life. In times of personal loss or disappointment, resilience allows you to process your emotions and move forward rather than being frozen by sorrow. Gratitude brings your focus back to everyday joys, relationships, or small wins, lighting the way through darkness. In the workplace, resilience means bouncing back after mistakes or criticism and being open to growth, while gratitude for supportive colleagues or opportunities fosters engagement and loyalty. In relationships, the ability to recover from disagreements or setbacks helps preserve trust, and gratitude reminds you to cherish and acknowledge your connections rather than taking them for granted. Mastering resilience and gratitude does not mean you won't experience pain or frustration. It means you will be better equipped to use even your hardest days to build a stronger, more hopeful future. The more you practice, the easier it becomes. And soon, these qualities naturally color the way you view every challenge, turning adversity from something that breaks you into something that builds you anew. Adopting the practices of resilience and gratitude can profoundly transform every corner of your life, bringing you increased peace, strength, and hope. With consistent effort, these qualities root themselves gradually, helping you to navigate even the toughest days with a greater sense of possibility. You'll notice over time that setbacks become less overwhelming. Their ability to keep you down weakens as you learn to see them as temporary and often valuable parts of your story. You also begin to appreciate more deeply the everyday joys that were once overlooked, making life richer and more satisfying regardless of outside circumstances. Emotional strength and flexibility grow with every challenge met, allowing you to respond to stress with clarity, patience, and even grace. Gradually, it becomes easier to focus on solutions rather than problems, on potential instead of limitation, and on what you can offer instead of what you may have lost. You can implement resilience and gratitude with clear, steady steps that fit into your daily routine. To foster resilience, start by reflecting at the end of each day and asking yourself what went wrong and what skills, strengths, or values helped you cope. Write down even the smallest ways you responded, whether resolving a conflict, reaching out for help, or simply getting up and facing the day. This reminds you that you are capable of recovery and adaptation. To cultivate gratitude, keep a simple journal or use a notes app to record specific things you appreciated that day. A supportive conversation, a delicious meal, your own effort despite discomfort. Challenge yourself to find at least one or two new things each day, no matter how small. Over time, this trains your awareness to seek the positive in even ordinary moments, making gratitude a more natural response. When you find yourself in a disagreement or facing a setback at work or in a relationship, pause to notice one strength you displayed in handling the situation, or one thing for which you can express thanks, to yourself or to someone else. This pause interrupts cycles of blame or disappointment, allowing room for optimism and resolution. Consider the story of Mark, a student facing anxiety over exams, who starts ending each day by noting how he persevered through tough study sessions. He also takes time to send a message of thanks to a study partner or a family member who cheered him on. This simple practice makes him feel less alone and more confident over time. In family life, imagine Nora and her spouse, who after arguments choose to name one thing they still value about each other before bed. This habit doesn't make conflict disappear, but it softens its impact and reminds them why they are committed to each other's growth. In professional settings, leaders who regularly acknowledge the resilience of their teams and the effort behind progress inspire loyalty and creativity. These examples show that even tiny rituals can plant seeds of strength and hope. Remember that mastering these habits is not about perfection, but about practice and patience. Resilience and gratitude are muscles that grow with use, and any step you take to strengthen them makes you braver and more prepared for future hardships. Every effort you invest in noticing the light through the cracks will brighten your outlook and your ability to move forward. Reflect often on your progress, celebrate small wins, and don't lose heart if it takes time. The cumulative effect of these daily moments is powerful and will reshape your experience. In the next chapter, you'll discover how to shift your perspective so that life's roadblocks become opportunities instead of dead ends. If you're ready for deeper growth, subscribe to Awaken Vision, like this video, and share your reflections or practical tips in the comments to support others on this journey. Your voice, your progress, and your courage matter more than you think. Let's keep growing together. Chapter 4. Harness the power of perspective. Have you ever felt completely stuck, as if you were staring at an unsolvable problem through a narrow window, unable to see any way around it? It can feel suffocating when life doesn't go according to plan, or when you're faced with setbacks that seem to have no solution. In these moments, it's natural to fall into a pattern of seeing only the obstacles in your path. You may feel as if the world is closing in, your options disappearing one by one, until frustration and hopelessness color your entire outlook. Perhaps you've experienced this while coping with a difficult job, a rocky relationship, or a goal that now seems out of reach despite all your efforts. The more you focus on what's not working, the more overwhelming your situation becomes, tightening its grip and making it hard to see anything else. Understanding this common problem is crucial because the way you view your challenges directly shapes your emotions and decisions. If your perspective is locked in a single limiting view, your imagination shrinks and your spirit grows tired. You might miss better solutions or fresh ideas that would appear if only you could take one step back and look with new eyes. Research in psychology tells us that the human brain tends to focus on problems instinctively as a way of staying safe. While that alertness once had a purpose, in today's world, it can trap us in negative thinking and stifle our ability to adapt, change, and grow. Learning to harness the power of perspective, to consciously shift how you interpret what's happening, is one of the most valuable tools for breaking free from these mental traps. Jessica, for example, struggled each day in a job she no longer found rewarding. She woke up with a sense of dread, convinced she would never find her way out. Every small mistake felt like a catastrophe, and each missed opportunity seemed permanent. She was sure that her career had stalled irreversibly. Likewise, Alex found himself in a tense relationship where repeated arguments made him fear the worst. Instead of seeing the disagreements as normal bumps in a long-term partnership, he interpreted them as signs that things could never improve. In both cases, their narrow perspectives intensified their distress and shut out solutions they didn't even know existed. They were looking at their life through a single rigid lens and missing the broader, more hopeful picture that perspective can offer. It's important to recognize that this mental trap is not a sign of weakness or failure. It is simply part of being human. However, the more we engage in this pattern, the more our world seems to shrink. Real hope lies in the understanding that our perspective is flexible. Like changing a camera's focus, you truly can bring new details and options into view. When you learn to broaden your perspective, problems lose some of their power, and you begin to discover pathways forward that you never imagined before. The journey begins by simply questioning the story you tell yourself about any challenge, making room for possibility and hope where there once was only limits. The path to breaking out of a limited mindset begins with intentionally choosing to step back and examine your situation from multiple viewpoints. Developing this ability, sometimes called reframing, means you actively seek to shift your mental focus away from obstacles and toward alternative interpretations or hidden opportunities. It's like training your imagination to pull back the curtain, allowing you to see your experiences in a new light. Studies in positive psychology and cognitive behavioral therapy show that when individuals deliberately adjust how they perceive events, they feel less overwhelmed by difficulties and more able to identify practical solutions. One key reason this works is the mind's natural habit of clinging to the most immediate or emotional explanation, often the one that feels most discouraging or hopeless. By pausing and inviting yourself to ask, "How else might I view this?" you open the mental door to new ideas and resources that were previously invisible. This reframing technique relies on self-awareness and curiosity. When you find yourself focused on what's not working, give yourself permission to take a metaphorical step back. Imagine viewing your situation from another angle, or even through the eyes of someone who cares about you. Would they agree that this setback truly means the end, or might they offer gentler encouragement? When you do this, your brain becomes less trapped in stress and begins to engage in creative problem solving. The science behind this is clear. Neurons associated with hope, innovation, and optimism are activated when we challenge rigid patterns of thought. Over time, people who practice shifting perspective recover faster from disappointment, handle conflict with greater ease, and adapt more readily to changes. What makes this approach powerful is its respect for both the reality of your situation and the flexibility of human interpretation. It isn't about pretending that difficulties don't exist or closing your eyes to genuine problems. Instead, it invites balance. If you accept that more than one truth can exist, the difficulty and a possible way through it, you instantly expand your options. For example, losing a job does cause legitimate grief and insecurity. But, with perspective, it might also be the first page in a new chapter filled with unexpected freedom or different pathways. Seeing things from a wider, compassionate lens brings relief and restored confidence because you're no longer boxed in by one single storyline. This shift is beneficial not just emotionally, but also physically and socially. When you learn to zoom out and widen your perspective, stress hormones go down, hopefulness rises, and you'll notice an increase in motivation and problem-solving skills. You begin to see more clearly what you can control and make peace with what you cannot. This acceptance makes goals feel more attainable and setbacks less personal or final. Relationships also benefit. You become more patient and understanding, both with yourself and others, because you realize there can be many explanations for the same event. The simple act of questioning your first knee-jerk reaction gives you the freedom to move forward, discover solutions, and find peace no matter what circumstances life throws at you. When you begin to practice the habit of changing your perspective, everyday life becomes fuller and lighter. Suddenly, situations that once seemed insurmountable appear manageable, and roadblocks transform into platforms for creativity and personal growth. The positive effects of mastering this skill echo through your mood, your sense of empowerment, and your relationships with others. You become more adaptable and less shaken by surprises, able to shift gears when plans go awry. Each time you approach a familiar issue with fresh eyes, you gain confidence in your own resourcefulness. The process gently teaches you that while you can't always control circumstances, you can write new meanings and lessons into every experience. By seeing setbacks as temporary and lessons as valuable, you not only feel less burdened, but also more open to the possibilities that life presents. Cultivating perspective helps to loosen the grip of anxiety and frustration, making space for curiosity and hope to thrive within you. To put this habit into effective practice, start by catching moments of stress or frustration and consciously pausing before you respond. When resistance or disappointment rises, take a slow breath and ask yourself, am I seeing the whole story? What else could be true here? Imagine what the situation might look like to an outsider or how you would comfort a close friend facing the same challenge. This act of gentle inquiry opens new pathways, often revealing options you hadn't considered. Keep a journal or voice memo where, at the end of each day or week, you reflect on a recurring problem and note at least 2 different ways to interpret it. Even if those alternative views feel awkward or forced at first, stick with the habit. The brain becomes more flexible and creative with regular practice. Use reminders, such as a sticky note with a question like, "Is there another way to look at this?" placed where you'll see it during tough moments. Build these pauses into your daily rhythm until re-evaluating your perspective becomes second nature. Applying this approach can lead to life-changing shifts. For instance, in personal growth, someone struggling to adopt a new habit might see failure simply as feedback and an essential part of the learning curve instead of a flaw. In relationships, a recurring disagreement might be reframed as a sign of growth and change, or as an invitation to deeper understanding, rather than as a threat. At work or in studies, instead of shrinking from challenging projects, you could see them as opportunities to develop new skills or gain recognition. Each practical application reinforces that challenges are not dead ends, but invitations to invent, to adapt, and to believe in your own ability to thrive in new circumstances. Stay encouraged if your viewpoint doesn't shift overnight. Lasting change is the result of small, consistent acts. Over time, you will find those anxious or hopeless moments become less frequent and less intense. You'll start to notice more pathways, more solutions, and more resilience in your everyday decisions. Reflect often on your growth and celebrate each instance where you stopped, questioned your perspective, and responded with openness. Every effort, no matter how modest, plants the seeds of a more empowered and balanced life. Ahead, the next chapter will guide you in learning to master emotional energy shifts, giving you the tools to move through strong feelings with confidence instead of resistance. If you're inspired to keep exploring and building your skills, remember to subscribe to Awaken Vision, like this video, and share your own perspective-changing stories or supportive ideas in the comments. Your insight could become the encouragement someone else needs. Let's transform challenges into opportunities together. Chapter 5. Master Emotional Energy Shifts. We all experience emotional highs and lows, but what happens when those emotions seem to take over, throwing your day or even your entire week off balance? Maybe you wake up feeling hopeful and motivated, but by noon, an unexpected setback or a heated conversation derails your focus completely. Your chest tightens, your thoughts race, and suddenly every task feels heavy and unmanageable. Sometimes it's difficult to escape a fog of irritation, sadness, or anxiety, even when you tell yourself to snap out of it. These intense, shifting emotions can feel like they control you rather than the other way around, leading to frustration, exhaustion, and self-doubt. It's hard to show up as your best self, at work, in relationships, or for your own goals, when your internal state seems unpredictable or overwhelming. Understanding and working with this challenge is crucial, because emotions are not simply fleeting feelings. They are currents of energy in the body and mind. When emotional energy becomes stuck, as in the case of lingering anger, worry, or stress, it can cloud your decisions, spoil your enjoyment, and keep you trapped in self-criticism or a sense of helplessness. Unprocessed emotions may surface in unexpected ways, such as sudden outbursts, lack of motivation, or physical symptoms like headaches or exhaustion. In contrast, those who learn how to notice, work with, and consciously shift emotional energy find themselves better equipped to handle life's surprises. They bounce back from disappointment faster, communicate more clearly, and recover their sense of optimism and power, traits that allow personal growth to continue even during tough times. Consider Daniel, a young professional whose days are often shaped by the mood of his morning commute. If the traffic is smooth, he arrives ready to tackle challenges with energy. But if one rude driver cuts him off, he stews about it for hours, and the smallest workplace mishap feels insurmountable. Or think of Ava, a student who appears cheerful but finds that minor setbacks, a poor grade or critical feedback, can spiral into self-doubt and a heavy sadness that lingers for days. Both are intelligent, caring, and hardworking, but they struggle to manage the emotional energy generated by life's small and big disruptions. These patterns are not unique. Many people ride emotional roller coasters all day and wonder why willpower alone is not enough to get over it. Recognizing this cycle is not a sign of weakness or an inability to cope. Far from it. Everyone deals with shifting energy, and nobody is immune from the emotional tides that come and go. The real opportunity lies in learning to bring gentle awareness to those emotional waves, acknowledging them without judgment, and then building skillful strategies to move and transform that energy. When you make space to understand what you feel and why, you turn fleeting moods into powerful signals. Mastering your emotional energy isn't about being emotionless. It's about partnering with your feelings so they inform and empower you, rather than derail your progress or happiness. The core solution to shifting emotional energy is a combination of awareness, acceptance, and intentional action. It starts with mindful noticing, simply pausing to tune in and ask yourself, what am I really feeling right now? Where in my body do I sense this, and what thoughts or physical sensations come with it? Too often, the first tendency is to push uncomfortable emotions away, deny them, or react before understanding them. However, countless studies in mindfulness and emotional intelligence point out that just labeling an emotion, I feel angry, I feel disappointed, I feel anxious, can reduce its intensity and provide a sense of control. This simple act of acknowledging your state, without self-judgment, activates the rational parts of your brain. Suddenly, instead of being swept away or dominated by feeling, you start to anchor yourself, creating a little space between reaction and response. The next part of the solution is to practice active acceptance. Here, the goal is to stop fighting emotions and instead allow them to be what they are for a moment. For example, when irritation or sadness appears, rather than criticizing yourself for being too sensitive or not positive enough, imagine extending compassion to yourself. This could be as easy as saying to yourself, "It's normal to feel this. It's okay to be uncomfortable right now." Research in emotional regulation shows that people who accept their emotional experiences, rather than judge or suppress them, recover much faster from stress and have greater resilience over time. Once there is space and acceptance, the next step is taking gentle action to help release or move the energy. Physical movement is one of the fastest ways to shift emotions. A brisk walk, a few stretches, or breathing deeply into your belly. Science shows that even 5 minutes of movement can lower the stress hormone cortisol and elevate mood. For some people, creative outlets like drawing, journaling, or listening to music help the energy find a safe exit. Others may prefer speaking honestly with a supportive friend or simply stepping outside for fresh air. By stepping out of the looping thoughts and letting the body move in some way, the stored emotional energy finds a healthy release. This approach makes sense because emotions are not logical problems to be solved, but energy in motion that needs safe channels to pass through. When you create a kind, spacious environment for emotions to be noticed, accepted, and moved, you are no longer hostage to unpredictable moods. Instead, you become the architect of your own daily experience, learning to ride emotional waves with increasing skill. This solution is empowering, nurturing your capacity for self-trust and adaptability. With time, you discover that you have a growing toolset for returning to balance whenever life's events trigger strong emotional storms. As your skill grows, emotional intensity turns into insight and motivation rather than excess stress, letting you approach your work, relationships, and personal dreams with new confidence and clarity. Embracing the habit of mastering your emotional energy brings far-reaching positive outcomes into your daily life. You begin to notice that emotions which once held you captive can pass through more easily and leave you feeling lighter and more in control. As you become skilled at recognizing and working with emotional currents, stress and overwhelm lose their grip. Instead, clarity emerges and you develop a steadier sense of self-worth regardless of daily ups and downs. Relationships benefit as your reactions become more thoughtful. By expressing your feelings with greater honesty and calm, you foster trust and openness. At work and during studies, your ability to bounce back from frustration or disappointment means setbacks no longer threaten your motivation. You stay engaged and focused longer, moving forward with creative problem solving instead of retreating into discouragement. Ultimately, adopting this mindset allows a continuous growth loop. Each time you process your emotions with compassion and wisdom, you gain a deeper toolbox for navigating life's complexities and unlocking your full potential. Putting the habit into practice is powerful yet simple when approached one step at a time. Begin each morning or whenever you sense tension building by pausing for a short minute. Close your eyes, breathe slowly, and ask yourself, what am I feeling? And can I be with this feeling for a moment without running from it? If your emotion feels intense, gently press your feet to the floor, relax your shoulders, and allow a few deeper breaths to anchor you in the present. Identify where the emotion feels strongest in your body, your chest, stomach, and send a silent message of acceptance like, it's okay to feel this right now. When your thoughts start to spiral, try a grounding activity such as stretching, taking a walk, or pouring your attention into a creative hobby for 5 to 10 minutes. Practicing this throughout the day retrains your brain to respond instead of react, building your emotional flexibility and strength. See how this plays out in real life. Imagine you've just had a tough conversation with a friend and feel a rush of anger. Instead of sending a message you'll regret, you step outside and take 5 slow breaths, noticing how your anger feels tight in your chest. You remind yourself it's valid to be upset. After letting the feeling settle, you return to the conversation calmer, ready to speak honestly, yet with care. In a work context, picture facing several deadlines with rising anxiety. You pause to ask, what's the most important task right now? And give yourself permission to move your body for 10 minutes before returning with renewed focus. Little by little, these steps become accessible habits, and you start feeling more resilient and centered, even when emotions are strong and unpredictable. Change does not require dramatic shifts. Each small act of emotional awareness and acceptance builds your capacity to move energy and cultivate calm. Celebrate moments along the way. times when you choose to pause, breathe, and act gently toward yourself. Acknowledge your growth, knowing that every effort strengthens your resilience, creativity, and confidence. When setbacks come, as they always do, you have the inner resources to weather them and emerge wiser. As you look ahead to the next chapter, you'll discover dependable strategies for sustaining your inner light and supporting real, ongoing personal growth. If you're eager to master these skills even further, remember to subscribe to Awaken Vision, give this video a like, and share your personal stories or suggestions in the comments to encourage others. Every step toward emotional mastery strengthens not only your life, but the whole community. Your efforts matter, your growth is possible, and the journey continues. All that's needed is your willingness to keep showing up. Chapter 6. Have you ever wondered why it's so easy to feel deeply inspired after a breakthrough, only to find your motivation quietly fading with time? Perhaps you've read a powerful book, heard an uplifting talk, or tried a new habit that filled you with hope and direction. For a few days or weeks, your life feels different. You envision the best version of yourself, and everything seems possible. But gradually, old routines creep back in, busy days pile up, and the changes begin to slip away, leaving you feeling frustrated or a bit defeated. This struggle to sustain positive growth is universal. Many people can ignite their inner flame for a moment, but find it hard to keep that spark glowing over the long haul. It's important to understand this problem with genuine compassion for yourself. Losing momentum does not mean you failed or that growth is beyond you. Our lives are busy and complicated, and returning to familiar patterns is part of human nature. Progress is rarely a straight line. Cultural messages may tempt us to believe that personal development is about dramatic, instant changes, but real transformation takes place in everyday moments, when no one is watching and motivation wavers. Knowing how to continually sustain your light, even when things grow tough or when progress feels invisible, is what shapes long-lasting change. If you've ever felt stuck in a cycle of good intentions followed by discouragement, you are not alone, and you are not broken. The answer is not in trying to make one big permanent leap, but in nurturing your newfound energy and clarity day after day. Consider Lisa, who after experiencing renewed purpose from a major achievement, feels the energy slowly drift away as daily life returns to its regular pace. She promises herself she will get back on track next week, but old distractions and doubts tug at her. Or think of Kevin, who overcomes a painful setback and feels certain he's changed forever. Yet months later, old fears sneak in, and he questions whether any real growth happened at all. Both Lisa and Kevin feel exhausted by the cycle of starting over, worrying that the light within them will always be too fragile to last. Their stories echo a truth familiar to everyone who has tried to improve. A moment's inspiration can fade unless we learn to care for it as we would care for a garden. Recognizing this pattern is the first step toward change. Regardless of how many times you've felt disappointed or how often you've slipped backward, the opportunity to sustain your light will always return. In fact, understanding how growth ebbs and flows is vital if you want the changes you make to take root and flourish. Being gentle with yourself during these phases creates space for consistent, patient steps forward. Growth becomes less about chasing perfection and more about building lasting strength through thoughtful routines and supportive beliefs. This chapter is here to remind you that sustaining your inner light is possible for everyone, even in the face of setbacks and doubt, and to show just how small shifts in attitude and practice can help nurture growth that stands the test of time. The lasting solution for sustaining your inner light lies in shifting your focus from isolated acts of inspiration to consistent habits and supportive mindsets. Rather than relying on the rare high of motivation, true and steady growth comes from building daily practices that protect, nurture, and celebrate your progress over time. This approach is about creating simple rituals, regular checkpoints, and compassionate self-talk that become part of your everyday life. When you turn positive actions into routine behaviors, like repeating little mantras, keeping a daily reflection journal, or scheduling quiet time for gratitude and planning, you form a structure that can weather periods of low motivation or outside stress. Psychology calls this the habit loop, a process where cues, routines, and rewards work together to make good actions automatic. Studies prove that individuals who create structures around their goals are far more likely to see their improvements last. At its heart, this solution works because it acknowledges human reality. Energy and enthusiasm always ebb and flow. Nobody feels equally passionate or driven every day. Instead of depending on bursts of willpower, these intentional habits anchor you when your energy dips and gently remind you to reconnect with your why. Over time, these micro-decisions weave together a net that holds your progress, making your light less likely to fade when challenges come. For example, using a reflection journal lets you track small wins and setbacks. So even if one day is tough, you can look back and see evidence of movement and growth. Celebrating milestones, even minor ones, boosts your brain's reward system, reinforcing the desire to stick with changes. Self-kindness and forgiveness become natural antidotes to self-criticism that often causes people to give up too soon. Researchers find that when people practice self-compassion, they bounce back more quickly from setbacks and develop a deeper trust in their own resilience. This approach is beneficial because it transforms growth from something urgent and dramatic into something gentle, attainable, and ongoing. You learn to navigate the ups and downs of life with adaptability instead of fear. Habits built upon small, consistent actions are far more stable than motivation alone. They can be scaled up or down depending on life's demands without collapsing entirely. When setbacks do appear, the structure and mindset you've created will catch you, remind you to rest, and offer an easy way to begin again. Over time, the friction of starting and restarting lessens, and you find joy in your journey rather than constant frustration about not reaching an endpoint. It helps to remind yourself that sustaining the light is never about perfection, but about returning. Each day brings countless chances to begin again, to adjust a routine, try a new practice, or simply reflect and acknowledge what's working. The more consistently you reinforce habits, routines, and a patient, encouraging mindset, the easier it becomes to nurture your growth, no matter what circumstances you face. This solution gives you real tools for protecting your inner light, ensuring your journey is meaningful, persistent, and uniquely your own. Rather than fearing setbacks or low points, you come to embrace them as reminders to reconnect with practices that anchor, strengthen, and renew your progress. Steady growth is not only possible, it becomes a dependable part of your life with every repeated gentle action you take. Choosing to sustain your light for growth offers positive outcomes that stretch across every area of your life. By building consistent habits and nurturing a self-supportive mindset, you create a foundation that makes lasting change not only possible but enjoyable. You'll notice that motivation is less likely to fade in the face of setbacks, and when it does, you have the tools to gently guide yourself back without fear or guilt. Over time, these daily practices raise your confidence and help make progress feel both visible and rewarding, not just during moments of great success, but in everyday routines too. The cycle of starting over becomes less daunting, and your faith in your own capacity deepens. This steadiness affects work results, enhances relationships, and enlivens your sense of self-worth, because you know you can return to your chosen path after distraction or struggle. You develop a kind of quiet resilience, a light that continues to glow steady and bright no matter how busy or unpredictable life becomes. To make this happen, start by crafting a daily practice that signals your intention to nurture your growth. You might begin each morning with a 5-minute pause for reflection, gently reviewing what matters most, or writing a brief affirmation that anchors you. At the end of each day, celebrate a single small win rather than chasing perfection. These wins could be as simple as pausing for a breath when stressed, sharing a kind word, or honoring a decision to practice patience in the face of frustration. Create visual reminders, such as an inspiring quote at your desk or a journal left open on your bedside table, that invite you to return to your purpose again and again. If you lose momentum, use that as a signal to adjust your routine to be gentler or more enjoyable, instead of a reason to give up altogether. In daily life, Imagine you are a student struggling with overwhelming courses. Rather than expecting yourself to feel inspired every morning, you set aside a quiet moment before classes to read through your personal mission statement and jot down what you are grateful for. When a poor grade arrives, instead of abandoning your goals, you look back on your journal, reminding yourself of recent improvements and the positive habits you stuck to. For someone facing a rough patch in a relationship, rather than assuming one argument defines everything, use your daily reflection time to acknowledge your efforts, note gentle progress, and name ways you can try differently tomorrow. In the workplace, an employee who checks in daily with positive intentions and acknowledges small advances is more likely to sustain motivation through demanding projects, turning repeated effort into real, measurable growth. The heart of sustaining your light is self-compassion and small, steady action. Whenever you stumble, remember that growth is not about never falling, but always being willing to stand up again. With every cycle of pausing, reflecting, and returning to your habits, you grow stronger, wiser, and more anchored. Celebrate every gentle act of nurturing your progress, however small, and remember that each day is a new opportunity to begin again and keep your light shining bright. Life's ups and downs are both inevitable and valuable. They remind you to stay present, flexible, and grateful for your ability to adapt. As you reflect on the journey so far, look ahead with hope. You have not only learned to ignite your inner flame, but also discovered resilient, practical ways to keep it alive, regardless of circumstance. This is the essence of real, lasting personal development, showing up, recommitting, and nurturing possibility in even the quietest moments of your day. Your path forward is wide open. Step gently, trust your progress, and celebrate your newfound strength. As you reach the end of this journey, remember that stop chasing. Finding joy by letting go of struggle has guided you through powerful steps of self-reflection, building resilience, renewing your perspective, mastering emotional energy, and nurturing lasting growth. Each chapter offered practical tools and hopeful encouragement to help you reconnect with your authentic self and sustain your inner light. The path to real joy and fulfillment is not about endless striving, but about learning to pause, nurture yourself, and move forward with intention. Thank you for dedicating your precious time and energy to explore these ideas and for investing in your own growth. If you found value in this video, please remember to like, leave your comments, or share your thoughts and personal insights, and subscribe to the Awaken Vision channel for more transformational content. Your continued support and engagement make this uplifting community possible.